Since the dawn of creation, humans have been creating. Before there was hyper-realistic digital art of anime girls, there were cave paintings. Before there were podcasts, there were radio programs and Roosevelt's fireside chats. Digital content creation has become so streamlined over the years that almost anyone can do it. But that doesn't mean you don't need an artistic eye to make something good. I mean, hey, if podcasting was easy, everyone would be doing it. Hey, hi, what's up? Thanks for coming back to CTRL+S. And if this is your first time listening, thanks for designating one of your many clicks today to my work. I appreciate the time, and I would appreciate a like, follow, or share if you enjoy the podcast. It's only the third episode, so any sort of engagement helps. And I won't pretend that I don't like to see the numbers and the analytic charts go up when I've finished an episode. I've spent a lot of my life making stuff, and it's nice to see people consuming and enjoying the things I make. And despite my dig at the podcasting industry earlier, I spend a lot of time making these episodes. I research, then I script, then I record, then I edit and upload and promote. And each of those steps have tiny steps within them. And I have class, and a social life, and a job. But aside from the way I time out my work, when I actually make something, I'm usually just worried about making it good. I've always been a creative person, whether or not I'm sharing what I make online. I've sewed, knit, and crocheted from a young age, made home movies and burned them to CDs, painted and drawn, uploaded my music to Spotify, and I've always just been fascinated by the idea of making digital content, whether that means I'm my own boss one day or not. There's freedom to create and share what you make for everyone with a laptop, a phone, and an internet connection. And while I'm excited and motivated by that freedom, today I want to look at that actual process of digital creation. For a minute, think about what tools come with your phone. If I open mine up, I have a photo editor built into my camera and in Instagram. I have an Android, so I downloaded CapCut instead of iMovie for video editing. So there's an editor built right into my phone, and there's one right in TikTok as well. And I have my Notes app and could access my Google products if I want to write something down. There's even more you can download from app stores as well. Now, imagine all of it's gone. What are you going to create with? So now we're back in pre-2008 territory before the smartphone, so you'd probably head over to your computer. There are tons of options there from this era, which we'll talk about, but I want to go even further back first. Now there are no personal computers, and digital video has yet to be invented. The first motion picture devices date back to the late 1890s. The handheld film camera was invented in the 1930s. If you were editing on film, you'd have to manually figure out where you'd like to cut your film, slice it with a razor blade, and manually splice in another strip to make an edit. By the 1960s, cameras ran on tape, which was barely less finicky, but it was cheaper, and now camcorders were able to be mass-produced for the public. They were primarily used by educators and businesses up until the 80s and the arrival of VHS. And oh, the things you could do with VHS. Kind of. Let's say it's 1986 and you cough up $1,600 for a home camcorder. That's about $4,500 in 2023 money, which is like half a year of rent in my city. Anyway, the American dream is alive and well, so you probably don't pay rent and have a single family home instead. And maybe you and your stay-at-home wife just had a baby. Your baby is cute. You'd like to film your baby. So you shoot for a few months and you want to make a video of them growing up so you can play it at the next family gathering. To edit that video, you're going to at least need that tape camcorder, a VHS player, a couple AV cables, and a TV to view your video on. You're going to put a blank tape in your VCR, play your video, and pause or play where you'd like to make edits. It'll record to that blank tape as you go, but you can't go back and you're pressing the buttons manually, so you may not get frame-perfect edits. But that's okay. Your baby is still very cute. This process is called linear editing. Because it's linear, you can't go back and make changes, which can limit your creativity in the editing stage, and you really have to think ahead about what you're filming. Of course, people still made great movies on film and tape, and editing was a highly specialized profession. You needed to have the technical knowledge to actually conduct an edit, and the creativity to work within those technical constraints. There was an electronic editing method in this period, but it just mechanized what was being done manually. Editors could input time codes into a machine, and then the machine would precisely cut or splice the film at that time code, allowing for more fine-tuned edits. But digital editing, that was where it was at. In 1989, the first digital editor was released, the Avid 1. This was a hardware-software combo for industry professionals that looks very similar to modern editors. It has a source window and a preview window, but most importantly, it had a timeline. Now you can drag and drop your shots in and rearrange them through a pretty streamlined user interface. If you were an industry editor at the time, you'd have no problem using this, and it was way better than linear editing. It was the first real-time editor, and it saved valuable post-production time. This was an insane innovation at the time, and the broadcasting student in me is very grateful for it, even though Adobe Premiere and I have had beef in the past. I found this video of editors talking about the system in a promotional video from Avid, and just listen to how excited they are about being able to do their jobs better.
Well, in normal video editing, you can only overwrite the material. In this nonlinear editor, you can splice in, just like in film. In fact, let's take the effect, bring it to our source window here. I'm going to come over here and find the point where I want it and do a splice in. Now I've made the program longer. Let's take a look at the result.
Let's go! Okay, I guess!
There's a lot I don't understand about this technology, but it's so cool how it facilitated creativity. I think there's some understatement in that video because digital editing really did revolutionize the industry. The Avid 1 was $50 to $80K in 1989, and you could theoretically rent time from another company to own the machine, but that's still a huge cost. Thankfully, the next decade brought rapid advancements to digital editing technology. By the mid-1990s, tons of movies were made using Avid or similar programs. But what about those budding filmmakers? Remember that baby from earlier? Well, now it's 1999, and he's 13. The first digital video cameras have been popular for a few years, and he just saw The Phantom Menace, and now he wants to make movies. You bought him a digital camera for his 13th birthday, and your family recently upgraded to a new computer, the iMac DV. This computer was packaged with a beautiful new program that you may recognize, iMovie. iMovie let the home user edit their digital video. It was primitive, but it allowed for basic editing, and I think more importantly, the tools were there for creators to experiment with making things that they wanted to make.
Probably the least you've done, the better this will be for you. That's the thing about the software. If you have no preconceived notion of editing, in and out.
That's awesome.
In and out, bro. Cool. Straight up cool.
I have a bit of history with iMovie as well, but in its app version. I had an iPod Touch 5, which came pre-installed with iMovie, and I made so many silly videos with my brother and my friends, most of which are now lost to time and my inability to remember a 6-digit passcode from like 8 years ago. But my real love of video editing actually comes from somewhere else, Windows Movie Maker. Windows Movie Maker released in the year 2000, just a year after iMovie. It had the poor fortune of being released on the very unpopular Windows Me, but it was also released on Windows XP in 2001. Again, it was pretty basic, but it had similar creative benefits to iMovie. The release of both pieces of software reflected a shift in digital and online culture toward multimedia creation, one that would only exponentially grow. I used Movie Maker on the family laptop, which ran on Windows Vista. Vista released in 2006, which coincided with the launch of YouTube. And the next update of Movie Maker came in 2009 and offered the ability to export directly to YouTube and other video sharing platforms, as well as to burn your videos directly to a CD. There was one more update in 2012, but Microsoft eventually discontinued the software in 2017. Truly the end of an era. These are two of the biggest free editors of all time. Back in the day, you could buy an expensive package of software and download it, but you had to have the right hardware and have the drive to create or just work for a studio. Now, anyone could get their start editing or creating content online. That ease of access allowed for ease of execution, whether or not it was actually good. You remember those YouTube videos that were like a blue background with basic white sans serif text? Those are most likely Windows Movie Maker. I liked it when kids could learn how to make videos like that and then make videos for other kids. It feels like all the creators for kids and teens are adults nowadays, which isn't inherently bad, but there's a weird parasocial dissonance between audience and creator that's kind of new in the digital landscape. And these videos are some of the most potent nostalgia I'm able to feel. I'm a journalism and broadcasting student now, and I want to do video or audio editing as part of my career. If I can't do it that way, I'll keep doing it for fun. My favorite assignments were and are the ones where I got to overly produce a video or audio and show off to the class. And I have a soft spot in my heart for the editing aesthetics I grew up with online, like 10% zooms for comedic effect or quick cutting YTPs.
At this point, the paper is 99 cents.
It was 99 cents.
Into a tub called a Hollander. No, a Holland is filling with water.
Holland.
Oh no, the
Windmills.
If you know, you know. And although I have my qualms with TikTok, there's a ton of creative stuff you can do editing-wise with that platform. And it's just plain fun. I have mixed feelings about the idea of putting yourself out there, but I won't deny that that can be an empowering thing to do. There are tons of people who started making things in their bedrooms, posted their videos to YouTube, and have rocketed to mainstream fame. The amount of communities that have come from posting online is amazing too. It can be fun to manage a fan base around your work or just be part of one. And think about what quick video editing and video sharing has done for social issues. It's not hard to create promotional content to push out information, and it's quite easy to quickly share what's going on at something like a protest. Logging onto Twitter and seeing what the mainstream news networks weren't sharing during the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020 changed my perspective at the time. And there's a lot of work being done as we speak to spread information about what's happening in Ukraine, Russia, Israel, and Palestine. Since I got to college, my journalism professors have been pushing the use of mobile devices too. Most phone cameras are good enough to grab a professional-looking shot, and I usually can't tell the difference between well-shot mobile footage and well-shot footage with a professional digital camera. And everyone has a phone in their pocket, which makes it pretty easy to film what's going on at any given time, whether that's in a grocery store or on a battlefield. Access to good tools gives creators the ability to make good stuff. It's that simple. And if you can't afford Sony Vegas or Adobe Premiere, there's tons of other tools that are cheaper or free, and it doesn't make you any less good to use them. In fact, it might even make you more creative. I usually talk about things that aren't accessible or just plain gone in their original forms on this podcast, but this is one of the cases where I think things have just gotten way better. As a person who edits frequently, it's hard for me to imagine how I would improve video editing software other than making it more streamlined and customizable. But that's probably because I haven't learned to take the time to actually customize my software. I suppose the next big step would be like AI editing, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think humans were made for two primary things, and that's love and creation. I think those things are very intertwined, and I don't think AI can or will be able to do either as well as a human, ever. AI can be a useful tool for sure. I've used ChatGPT to get ideas going, and I think generative fill on Photoshop is fun and interesting, but I just don't think AI will ever be able to ethically and creatively replicate the effort it takes to make good art. That includes what it takes to edit a full video. Shortcuts and things like that are helpful, but creatively ordering and splicing stuff takes a good eye. It may be able to make a quick slideshow or adjust audio correctly, but making a great movie or TV show or even YouTube video doesn't seem possible to me without the work of a human, at least at this point. And to be honest, I hope we never take the human element out of this process. I love this kind of work. And for me, it's meditative more than frustrating. And I love seeing something that I planned from the first words on a page form itself into something I can upload. That gratification is worth the struggle. And hey, if I get some likes and comments out of it, that's nice too. Thanks again for tuning into Control+S. I'm glad you spent some time with me, and I hope you feel as inspired as I do to go make something. If you liked this episode or you want to point and laugh at me, feel free to share it with your family, friends, or favorite grocery store cashier. I'm here every Tuesday, so give Control+S a follow here on Spotify, on YouTube, or on TikTok if you want to see more. Until next week, I have been and will continue to be Macy. Have a good rest of your day.